You are watching a Fact TV presentation of the town of Swanzey.
Call to order the regular meeting of the regular May 28th, 2026 meeting of the Swanzey Planning Board. And our agenda is, after the approval of minutes, we have two public hearings. One is Planning Board 26-008, which is Schimp Family Oil Site Plan Review. A site plan review application has been submitted by Jonathan and Laura Schimp, who propose converting existing commercial garage space into an office and making site improvements to allow the parking of empty trucks for the operation of Schimp Family Oil and Septic. The property is located at Tax Map 103, Lot 64 in the Business District. Second, we have a site plan review regulation public hearing. The board will consider proposed amendments to the site plan review regulations, specifically revising Section 7, Articles 6 and 7, which are regarding approval and conditional approval. The proposed amendments will change expiration timelines for site plans, define explicit conditions for active and substantial development, and establish clearer language for conditional approvals, among other smaller changes. And under discussions and other business, we have a discussion of excavation permits. So, I'm kind of out of order here. I should take attendance. I'm here, and I'm Victoria Reck Ames, Scott Self.
Here.
Mark Scalera is not here. Richard Lane.
Here.
Brandon Self. Not here. Michael York.
Yeah.
Selectmen's Rep. Alan Gross
Yes.
is here. Stacy Goodale is not here. Charlie Harbeck is here. Jane Johnson is not here. Also present is Adam Paquette, our town planner, and Susan Ells, the recording secretary. So I'm going to seat Charlie for Mark. Okay.
Apologies for earlier. A quorum is 4 members.
Okay.
That means we are 1 member short of a full board. Typically, it's 6 members plus selectmen's rep. So we do have 1 short of that.
Okay, so we can't really take any action, right?
No, we can.
We can.
It's just up to the applicant.
Oh, we just have to have 4 votes,
Yep.
4 positive votes. Okay.
Yep, exactly.
Got it. All right. Okay, so we've seated. Okay, so let's consider the minutes of May 14, 2026. And I had a correction on page 4. And that was, let's see. It's under the section where I made the presentation on commercial industrial growth and property tax burden. And it's the last paragraph of that section. And I said a lot of words, but what I think I said was that, I'll read the language that I think I said, which would replace that entire paragraph. Chair Ames concluded that the numbers suggest that we may be making a false promise by promoting commercial industrial development as a way to lower residential property taxes. Rather, commercial industrial development offers many other benefits, like local jobs. Ames added her opinion that the numbers argue for carefully balancing commercial industrial development with protecting qualities of high value to Swanzey's residential property taxpayers, such as rural character and natural resources. Now,
I'm sorry, Victoria, you said you're on page 4?
Yeah.
That's actually on B?
Under
Page
D.
4 of the minutes,
Right.
under D, the 3rd paragraph, talks about the conclusion of the report.
It's actually page
This is
5.
page 5 of the packet, but it's page 4 of the minutes.
Okay.
Sorry. Are you there? It's item D.
Yeah,
You
okay.
there? Okay.
I'm just confused when you're saying page 4. I'm looking
And
at this.
Yeah, you were looking at page 5
and
of the packet.
It didn't match.
Right. Sorry.
Okay.
So is everybody comfortable with that correction?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes with the correction and
I'll second it.
Can I make one more suggestion?
Sure, we have more.
Yeah, And this is up above, same page, page 5 of our packet. It's the third paragraph down, and it says, after considerable discussion, the board will plan a non-public hearing with the Board of Selectmen to discuss this further. And it was my sense that we didn't confirm that we wanted to, but that we wanted to consider the possibility of.
Yeah, that is correct. I remember that we decided that the selectmen had no authority there and that we weren't going to do anything with it.
Right. And I think the motivation for the suggestion was that it might be something worth considering under 91A3, which is the non-public section of open meeting law.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I didn't get that take from it.
Okay,
That we were going to
okay.
go non-public at all.
Was it you who was,
Excuse me?
were you the person who was discussing, who made that recommendation or was talking about it? I
Quite
seem to
honest-
remember the voice came from to my left.
Quite honestly, I don't recall.
Okay, all right. I'm just not sure that we emphatically talked about planning a non-public hearing, but rather wondered if that was something that we should do. And it's up to the board's memory.
I know we weren't planning to
Okay.
have one with the
Okay.
selectmen.
So maybe we could adjust it to say, after considerable discussion, the board considered a non-public hearing to discuss this further if necessary?
That's probably more like it.
Okay. Is that, got it? You comfortable with that, Susan? Okay. So we've got a motion and a
I'll
second?
second it, yeah.
I'll add that to my motion,
Okay,
after the considerable
that's fine.
discussion part of the
Yes.
motion.
Yeah, that's fine.
okay. And any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, regional impact. Does anything on the agenda qualify as a development of regional impact that would require notification of neighboring municipalities? Anybody care to make a motion?
I'd make a motion that nothing on tonight's agenda requires regional impact.
And I'll second that.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. I apologize, I don't know who you are. Jonathan Schimp. Yes, okay. So would you like to come forward for this next part?
So are we gonna accept the application as complete? It's a home business.
So Jonathan, we have one member short of a full board. Typically, you would have 7 members plus a selectman's rep voting on your application. Today, we have one short of that number. You do have the option to continue your hearing to our next scheduled meeting
Totally
on
confused then.
June,
Remember, he came in.
bear with me, June 11th.
Originally, but I thought
If
we
you
said
want,
we need to have a
if
site
you feel
plan
comfortable
record.
proceeding with
Site
one,
plan, but not a site
one
plan.
less than you normally would have,
Right afterwards,
then
isn't
you
there
can proceed today.
application after that?
But it's up
This
to
is
you.
no, this is noticed, no, this is
I think
noticed
I
as
feel
site
pretty
plan
comfortable
review.
too. Otherwise, I would
guess we would keep it.
advise you
Oh, that's
otherwise.
That's a prior thing that happened back in 2008 or something.
That's what I'm thinking, okay. Yeah.
So, Mr. Schimp, thank you. And thank you for doing all the background work to do the measurements and all that. So what we're going to do here is, let's see, I'm going to reread the public hearing notice, okay, which is Planning Board 006, Schimp Family Site Plan Review. A site plan review application has been submitted by Jonathan and Laura Schimp, who propose converting existing commercial garage space into an office and making site plan improvements to allow the parking of empty trucks for the operation of Schimp Family Oil and Septic. The property is located at Tax Map 103, Lot 64 in the Business District. Okay, and now we have a process, and so what we'll do first is look at the information that you've submitted and make sure that it's complete, and then we'll move we'll probably ask you a few questions during that time, and then we'll open a public hearing. And the purpose of that is to make sure that the members of the public have a chance to respond to what you're proposing.
Right.
And there'll be a little bit more discussion. Did I mention we'll take a vote after we review all of your information to say that it's complete? There will be one vote then, but that's not pertaining to the complete application, okay? And then there'll be a final vote at the end. Clear as mud, right? But it's our standard practice.
I'll make a motion that after reviewing the application, that I find that it's complete, and we can move on to this presentation.
We haven't reviewed it yet.
Pardon?
We haven't publicly reviewed it yet, have we?
I'm just saying, after
Well, after.
committee, board reviewing the application, it appears to be complete.
No, he's already saying that he wants a motion that it's complete already.
I don't think we actually, Victoria, I don't think we actually
Yeah.
looked at it yet for being complete, because there are waivers in there that he's
Yeah.
requesting.
I don't see any waivers.
On the checklist, there's no waivers requested, but there's some checks that are not, there's some information that's not submitted. And I think we should go through that list. I've gone through it myself, and I haven't seen any major problems, but there's some other things that I'd just like to note for the record on this. So let me get myself back to the beginning here. So, just for the record, you originally appeared before the board on April 9 with an application for a new tenant application, and the board discussed that new tenant application and came to the conclusion that we didn't have a site plan on file for this property. And in our packet, we have, on page 20 of our packet, we've got some more information from the master property file, I think, which includes, on page 20 of the packet, we have a notice of June 19, 2008 ZBA decision that granted a special exception to permit the property to be used for auto repair, sales, and service. Then on page 17 of the packet, we have a site plan that was approved on July 7, 2008. And then on page 19 of the packet, we have a multi-tenant application that was approved on September 24, 2019 for auto repairs and detailing. We also have a email message from Mark Sclera that I'm just going to read quickly. And this is, again, just data. And he said that soon after purchasing our property in July of 2018, and after deciphering the property lines, it was found that the cars for the business on this lot, which is map 103, lot 64, were parked on the south side, were actually parked partially on our property. My understanding is that this encroachment occurred prior to Alan's ownership and was never addressed. After discussing this matter with Alan, it was decided to sell approximately 1/3 acre of land that widened his property on both the south and west sides. The land that was sold was majority wetlands on both sides and was done as a property line adjustment. So just, that's how the lot got to be a little bit bigger. So in terms of things that are, according to the checklist, not prepared, when I reviewed this, I saw a number of things that were not checked, but I think actually were in the application. So can we just run through those quickly, looking at the checklist? You guys, it's on page 12 of the packet. There is a list of abutting landowners. That was checked that it wasn't provided. I'd like to return to number 12 in terms of location and number of parking and loading spaces. I did see on number 13 vegetation shown. Number 14, this has to do with the location of lighting, and it was addressed on the new tenant application form. Number 15 has to do with water bodies, ledge, and wetlands. The sketch that Mr. Schimp provided shows wetlands on the sketch, and there's a location map that shows drainage from Upper Wilson Pond to Wilson Pond. Number 16 has to do with grades and topographic contours. It's pretty flat, so I'm not sure that one's really relevant. Number 17 deals with water mains, hydrants, and fire ponds, and I don't know that that one's relevant, unless anybody disagrees. Number 18 has to do with the water supply. This is on town water, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's addressed. Surface drainage, we can return to that if people feel we need to. Talks about, number 20 talks about septic certification, and that's not applicable, I don't think. 21 talks about sewage disposal, and there is the location of the septic system is indicated on the map. Number 22 talks about on-site well, and again, you're on public water. 23 talks about a soil survey, and again, I don't think that's applicable. So, does anybody have any feelings that any of these? The missing items would be, location and number of parking and loading spaces, grades and topographical contours. How about, do people have feelings about grades and topographic contours?
Not for that small area there.
Okay, let's consider that addressed. Surface drainage, should we consider surface drainage to be addressed?
That'd go along with the topographical
Okay.
contours.
And then the soil survey, small site that's been in use for a long time.
They're not really doing any digging there, they're just taking over a site.
Yeah.
You know, it's not really disturbing anything there.
Okay, so that just, the only thing I'm wondering about is number 12, the location and number of parking and loading spaces. And I think that's maybe me just overlooking something, but just want to make sure that's shown.
Page 17, there's
Parking-
Page 17, the
parking is in
prior
17.
site plan does show parking spaces. So would you be using approximately, this is the site plan that was approved, it was approved on July 7, 2008. Just like to get a sense of the board on how much detail the board would like to see in terms of where the parking spaces are located.
It shows them there. I mean, clearly it shows them there. On the
Okay.
next page too, you can see them, you know, coming over there. So we know where they are. It's just a
Okay.
different view of it on the next page.
It is a different site
Yeah.
plan than the one that Mr.
But
Schimp is
it's-
submitting.
It would be the same lot though. See
Okay,
that
okay.
line right there and that
Okay.
little line right there?
Okay.
Those are the same parking. They aren't additional parking places. They're the same ones. They're just looking at it differently there. But
Okay.
it does show them on there. So he has provided us a site plan with parking spaces on there.
Okay. So, is there anything else that people feel we're missing?
No, we just hadn't checked that parking space one that actually shows them on there.
Okay.
So, yes.
So I think we can consider those things checked, okay, or not applicable.
Yeah.
All right, and then I think we're at the point where we can entertain your motion that the site plan does or doesn't contain information that's sufficiently complete for the planning board to proceed to public hearing.
So moved.
So moved. Is there a second?
Any seconds?
I'll second.
Okay. And any further discussion? All right. Then, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Nope. Motion carries. All right, now, we're entering a public hearing. And once again, I'm going to read the public hearing notice. That's how we roll. If I can get to it. This is Planning Board 26-008, Schimp Family Oil and Site Plan, Schimp Family Oil Site Plan Review. A site plan review application has been submitted by Jonathan Laura Schimp, who proposed converting existing commercial garage space into an office and making site improvements to allow the parking of empty trucks for the operation of Schimp Family Oil and Septic. The property is located at Tax Map 103, Lot 64, in the Business District. We'll open the public hearing. Okay, is there anything you would like to say about this application?
I don't think there's anything I have.
Okay. I see nobody in the public who would like to say anything about this application. Questions from, questions from the board?
I got one question. Are you planning to have a large oil storage, where you drop them into the trucks?
No. No, that's the complete wrong property for something like that. That's technically just for an office and, like I listed on there, parking spare vehicles when they're not used.
And the trucks will be empty?
Yep. Yeah, whenever I park any vehicle like that for any length of time, they're always empty. So when they go there to be parked, they're gonna be there till we need them again, so the septic truck, we don't run septic in the winters, so that's parked down there for the winter, drained, empty. Whenever we park an oil truck down there, it's empty, and then when we need that truck again, we go load it. But that stays in Troy, in our main yard, until we're done with it, and then it's empty and it goes back down there. Just so they're out of our way. We don't have a big yard in Troy either, so anytime we can get stuff out of the way, it's a big help.
And you have a copy of the site plan with you there. I'm just curious which parking spaces you're going to park the trucks at. Just where, in regard to where the garage is. I'm assuming it's right around the garage there. There are several spaces around in there.
Yep, so the back side of the garage, where
Back.
I marked, there's the concrete pad, and then right next to that is the gravel. So they're parked right on the back side of that garage.
That gravel area right there, behind there. On the gravel area, you said?
Yeah, there's a concrete pad and a gravel area.
Okay.
That's where they're parked.
So they'll be close to the building because you need to keep the edge area free for them the trucks to move around. You won't be
Yeah,
parking
it's-
towards the exterior of the property.
Yeah, for the most part.
Is it a concrete pad on your parking sites 1 through 6?
So I don't have the one you're looking at. That would be the old site plan from 2000.
It would be, yeah. 2008, I think it is, we're looking at.
2008 or 9?
Yeah.
Yeah.
8.
Yeah,
So
so I
you-
don't have that. I just have what I submitted.
Okay, let me,
So, again, if you're looking at the garage on the back side, there's a big concrete pad, and there's a gravel pad, and that's...
Can you see that? Can you see this? Would that be, or just come up, would that be back here?
Okay.
I don't think the answer is yes, but
Slightly different, but in that area, in that section
Yeah.
of the property is where they are. So right on the back side of the garage, there's a concrete pad that sticks out about 20 feet. So I usually keep one on there, and then just next to it where the gravel is. So instead of running the way they're running now, I'm just parking facing the other direction. So they're parked along the lengthwise of the building.
But that area?
Yeah.
That's the area, that's what I was asking. Is it that same area?
Yep, same
Okay.
area.
So can we conclude then that, according to your drawing, the trucks will be parked either on the concrete pad or on asphalt surface? It's what you seem to be showing here in terms of how the surface is.
Concrete, then there's a little bit of asphalt, and then there's some gravel.
And then the rest is gravel.
Yeah.
Okay.
you can keep it.
Other questions from the board? Are there any conditions that need to be placed on a motion for approval?
Yeah, I take it you all have all your permits that you need to run this business.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we've been running for 17 years.
No other questions? I could entertain a motion. Well, actually, I should close the public hearing then, if we're through asking questions. Done with that? All right, I will close the public hearing at 6:24. And we can have our discussion, and then we can have a vote.
Pretty straightforward.
Yep.
Yeah, we've got what we asked for. We got the site plan, know where they're going to park the trucks, and nothing has changed since they were in there the last time.
Yeah, so I'll make a motion that we approve the application.
Motion by Michael, is there a second?
Well, second.
Second by Richard. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Good luck to you.
Welcome to Swansea.
Can we also get a vote on the new tenant application?
On the what?
The new
Oh,
tenant application?
Okay.
It's on page 22. It's the same one that the board reviewed a couple months ago now.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, that's what I was talking about there.
22, okay, yes.
Yeah.
So this, we originally reviewed this in April
It'll be really fast.
and asked for the site plan. So this is a new tenant application for Jonathan Schimp for a property that is situated at 85 Monadnock Highway in the business district at tax map 103, lot 64. And the application is for a business of home heating oil delivery and septic pumping. That's the business, but the garage will be used as office space and to park spare trucks. The hours of operation are 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m., Monday through Friday. Estimated customers per day are 5. Parking spaces planned are 2. Number of full-time employees are 2. And outside lighting is described as being located on the front and rear of the building. The permit required is a New Hampshire septic hauler permit. And we have all the information, so would anybody like to make a motion to approve this new tenant application?
I'll move it.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Second by Scott. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. You'll hear from me tomorrow with the notice of decision, okay?
Okay.
Congratulations.
All right, our next agenda item,
If you don't want to keep it, I can recycle it. All good. Sounds good. Thanks.
next item is a review of site plan review regulations, a public hearing for site plan review regulations. And I will open the public hearing. I will read the agenda item and then open the public hearing. The board will discuss proposed amendments to the site plan review regulations, specifically revising Section 7, Articles 6 and 7, regarding approval and conditional approval. The proposed amendments will change expiration timelines for site plans, define explicit conditions for active and substantial development, and establish clearer language for conditional approvals, among other smaller changes. So, we have before us the old language and the new language. I can run through the new language for the record, if that seems like a good idea.
Want to, or, yeah, you can read it out loud, or we can read it, whichever. It's your choice, whichever
All
you
right.
want to do.
I think I'm just going to hit the highlights, because we've discussed this many, many times.
We have.
And the first section, which is Section 6, approval, simply adds the word roads and replaces the word amenities with other public facilities.
Excuse me, you need to speak up just a little bit more.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Should I repeat that?
Pardon?
Would you like me to repeat that?
No, but sometimes you just kind of
Got it.
fade
I know.
away.
I have a voice that doesn't carry anyway, right? So, okay. Moving on, section letter B, we didn't change. Letter C, we expanded from 1 year to 3 years the number of time before a site plan approval expires. And we, in the subsections, we defined active and substantial development. And we defined it as site preparation activities, which include the movement of earth, excavation, clearing, logging, as well as installation and maintenance of erosion control measures. And we said that these activities must be conducted with and in furtherance of approved development. Section II, construction and/or installation of roadways or access ways constructed to at least a gravel base, building foundations, slabs, or footings in accordance with the approved plans. And the third element under this section is construction and/or installation of basic infrastructure intended to support the development, such as drainage and utilities in accordance with the approved plans. Now, that was a major change.
So in that C, we still need to clarify something there, in my opinion. I don't know. And I'm just going to read it. The C is the first sentence. It's site plan approval will expire after a period of 3 years following the date on which the board votes to approve or conditionally approve the application, period. So that says it's going to expire after 3 years. I mean, reading it as it says, it looks like it's going to expire after 3 years. But what it means is it's going to expire after 3 years unless they did one of those things down below, right?
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if you ought to just put in the word unless after it says conditionally approve the application, unless within this 3-year period. I don't know, to me, it's confusing. It seems like it's saying this thing is going to expire in 3 years no matter what.
Wait, say that again, the site
So-
plan, put the word in as you
Let me
read
just,
it.
yeah, you want, okay. The site plan approval will expire after a period of 3 years following the date on which the board votes to approve or conditionally approve the application. And I'm putting this in unless within this 3-year period,
Okay, got
active
it.
and substantial
Got it.
development.
Yes.
So, I'm,
Yeah.
Go ahead, finish
no,
up.
I'm done. I'm done with that one.
Tying in with that, and I wish I could remember the section I read earlier today in the RSA. On each plat that we do, and we put these substantial construction or development, we have to define exactly what we want to see with each one. We can't leave it ambiguous. And I know there are 3 things here, but we need to attach what we want to that plat.
I just have a comment on that. what you're
Yeah.
saying there.
Please do, because I'm curious too.
We have discussed that before at length in this whole thing, and the reason why we didn't specifically state what they had to do in each one is because each site plan is different that comes in here. We don't know how far they've progressed or how far a previous owner has progressed on that site. They may have roads and stuff in the site that that was there when they bought it, so that wouldn't fall under this criteria that they have to do, because that's already there. We'd have them do something else there, like the site preparation or construction or installation of basic infrastructure, pipes and things like that. What you're saying is that we have to define what means the substantial development, right?
Correct.
On
And that's
each
according to
one.
the RSA, that we are directed to do that.
As like,
No,
as a condition of approval.
The RSA says we can do it. We don't have to do it. The RSA, I'm pretty sure, says that we can say what substantial and active development means. If we do not say that, then they can take their whole time with their approval. They won't have that, we'll say the 3 years following the date. If we listed nothing on there about this substantial improvement, then after 3 years, it would, and they did nothing, it would still be active.
Yeah.
Is what we're saying, and we're saying here that they have to do one of these, and if they've done one of those in that 3-year period, it's okay, but we aren't telling them which one what to do. We're not their job boss or anything. We're just saying you have to do one of those, otherwise that thing is null and void.
Can you help me on this, where that is located?
No, this has already been vetted through Cordell, so, I mean, Cordell was
Yeah.
very confident in this language.
I know, but it's specifically mentioned in our
I know what you
RSA
mean. Yeah.
that it's part of the conditional approval by the planning board that you are to state what those conditions or what level of development is required. Otherwise, you're very ambiguous, you're leaving it wide open, and they could do or say,
Or not do, right?
This is us, yeah, but this is us doing that by putting these 3 conditions in here. This is us fulfilling that RSA. Previously, we didn't have these 3 conditions, so it's why some developments in Swansea have been able to get away with less development than normal to be vetted or to be vested. So now we have clear vesting. We have a clear vesting schedule. You have to do 1 or more at the planning board's discretion. This satisfies the RSA. And again, this has already been vetted through our legal, and he's satisfied with this language.
But I think what you're reading in there, in the RSA's, if I remember, I think what you're reading about, and that is if the planning board wants to put a time limit on it, then they have to say what they have to do. If the planning board does not want to put a time limit on that approved application, then they don't have to, but they can't hold them to a substantial development.
I wish I could recall the number that I was looking at today. And I picked it up from some of our notes from, I think, perhaps back in March, I'm not sure. Because that's when we first started to discuss this.
Yep.
And there was a reference to an RSA number. I went back and looked it over.
Well, we can certainly discuss it again, right? If you find that thing there, I'm pretty sure that they don't require us to, because the planning board hadn't done that until now. We had done that on certain site plans when they were big.
We hadn't mentioned active and substantial, that being active and substantial development.
In the past, when we had large developments, we had put what they had to do to be vested in it. But we didn't do it on all site plans because some of them were small and you didn't have to. So that was what we used. But now we're putting it in there that it actually has an expiration date, and they have to, all of them have to do this, is what we're saying.
So it sounds like what we're addressing, I think what
We're
Richard is
addressing what
saying,
you're
that
saying,
Well, we're not finalizing anything this evening, correct?
Yeah, we are.
well, we
Public
could,
hearing.
yeah, if we're satisfied, we could, but if we're not satisfied,
Again, this has already been vetted, so I don't know what else we would need to vet. So this is us setting standards. So. Scott, I made that change. I think it reads good too. I mean, it's.
Well, when we get there, yeah, just read it then, because we have the old copy here.
Do you want me to read it back? I can read it back with your
Victoria
change.
hasn't gotten to it yet. Right? Oh, this
the-
change here, the
under
unless
C.
one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yep. So the new C, if it's acceptable to the board, would read, site plan approval will expire after a period of 3 years following the date which the board votes to approve or conditionally approve the application, unless within this 3-year period, active and substantial development must, or will,
Has occurred, ma'am.
has occurred, yes, has occurred. I think that reads fine.
has occurred past tense.
Get our English correct.
Yeah, that seems fine.
I'll move through, Richard, while you look, I'm going to just move through some of these minor things. The change in Section D is no certificate of occupancy shall be issued until 2 copies of site plans are signed, and it used to be 3 copies, so we just reduced that. Section E clarifies how the planning board would extend time, the amount of time for accomplishing active and substantial development. And it says a minimum, this is new language, a minimum of 30 days prior to the expiration of approval. An applicant may request a one-time extension of 1 year for meeting active and substantial development. The applicant shall demonstrate the necessity of the extension and provide an update to the board about the status of the project. Letter F remains the same. Then under 7, conditional, well, does anybody have any other thoughts about Section 6, approval? Holding space for Richard if You'd like to,
Just go.
okay. Under 7, conditional approval, here, this is a lot of new language. We clarified conditions precedent and subsequent to the final approval. So the new language reads, if an application is approved subject to conditions, the decision shall state which conditions, if any, must be satisfied to obtain final approval of the application, which is conditions precedent, or opposed to conditions, as opposed to conditions that need not be satisfied prior to final approval, which is conditions subsequent.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yes.
674-39, under 4.
Hold on, 674-39.
That's on page 442.
Page 442. Okay.
And whereabouts was that? Which one?
Number 4, under number 3.
Roman numeral 4?
Do you want me to read it? Scott, Victoria, Scott, I can read it.
Please, I think it makes sense.
I think it makes sense too. So failure of a planning board to specify by regulation or as a condition of subdivision plat or site plan approval what shall constitute active and substantial development or building shall entitle the subdivision plat or site plan approved by the planning board to the 7-year exemption described in paragraph 1. The planning board may, for good cause, extend the 3-year period set forth in subparagraph 1A.
So your concern is that, well, what is your concern about that?
Pardon?
Could you restate what the concern is?
What I was getting at is, on this, if we don't specify, where it's saying that we are to specify, otherwise you're opening it up to actually 10 years.
We are specifying in the site plan approval, items 1 through 3 is us specifying.
Here's a thought. It reads failure of a planning board to specify by regulation. And so that's what we've done in this, in our site plan review regulations. We've specified by regulation,
Yeah, you have 3 categories.
3 categories.
So are we going to then attach one section to each of the plat, or are we going to verbally say that this, and this has to be done?
Well, the law gives us an or, okay? It says failure of the planning board to specify by regulation or as a condition of subdivision plat or site plan approval. I mean, we can do both because we have specified in a regulation what shall constitute active and substantial regulation. And we will also, as a condition of approval, likely say you've got to do 1, 2, or 3, or any combination, or some number.
Yeah, my whole point is I don't want the board to be open to something that's going to come back and bite me.
Got it, yeah. I think in my opinion, we've addressed it specifically by specifying by regulation, as the law states. I think we're okay. Is anybody else feeling worried about this? Because this is a big deal, you know? We all agree it's a big deal.
This is already leagues better than our prior language.
And what we're talking about there in that paragraph is the 7-year protection from changes in ordinances. It isn't, you know, we're addressing it as far as the expiration of the approval. If they haven't, we aren't addressing it in terms of when the zoning ordinance changes. We're addressing it in terms of when the thing expires. If you haven't done anything in 3 years, you're gonna have to come back. And what we're reading here in this has to do with the 7-year exemption, which is exempt from the future ordinances.
No.
But we're covered anyway, like Anna was just saying, we're covered anyway because we've specified it in here. So we're covered under the 7-year part, and we're covered under our own ordinance as far
practice.
as three-year limit.
Okay.
As long as you're comfortable.
I really understand your concern, but I feel okay with this. I think we've got it. All right. Continuing in Under Section 7, item B, we had, there'd been some discussion about whether the conditions shall be met within 1 year, and we've gotten legal opinion on that, that 1 year seems to be appropriate.
So we're still on number 7, though.
We're on 7B.
Adam, did you change that? Is that what we talked about today?
Yes.
Changing the word, precedent, subsequent around there?
Yes, there's 2 changes.
Would you just read that? Yeah.
Yep, I'll read, so starting at 7, conditional approval, there are a couple changes that both Cordell and I missed here. I'm gonna read, and as I read, you'll catch the changes. They're pretty small, and they're pretty easily missed. So, if an application is approved, subject to conditions, the decision will state which conditions, if any, must be satisfied prior to final approval of the application, conditions precedent, as opposed to conditions that need not be satisfied with a compliance hearing, conditions subsequent. So we are crossing out prior to final approval and changing that to with a compliance hearing to make it more clear that type of condition does not require a compliance hearing. Does that make sense?
I thought you were, must be satisfied, it used to say to obtain. You're making that now say prior to final approval?
As opposed to conditions that need not be satisfied with a compliance hearing.
As opposed
It's saying the same thing. There was an argument to be made that prior to final approval would be confusing to the applicant, because final approval is technically when the board votes to approve the application.
Okay. Now I'm confused.
So I talked to Adam about this today, and that's the reason it sounded like that you did not have to do those prior to, and anyways, as it read, prior to final approval, you did not have to do those conditions at all by the sounds of it. It's that last one, so I'll read it as it was before. This is how it reads before Adam's changing it, and it says, let's see, I'm going to go down to, I'll do the whole thing. If an application is approved subject to conditions, the decision will state which conditions, if any, must be satisfied to obtain final approval for of the application conditions precedent. That's fine. That says it what it is, and that's a condition precedent. And then it goes on to say, as opposed to conditions that need not be satisfied prior to final approval. And then it just says that. So reading that, you'd think, well, those conditions don't have to be met prior to final approval. I don't have to do anything. So instead, the words, and it might read better like this. Let's see, as opposed to conditions that do not require a compliance hearing prior to final approval.
That's fine too, yeah.
Okay. That do not require a compliance hearing. Okay.
Yeah. Prior to final approval.
Not require. Okay.
And that tells the person that you still have to do those regardless. It's just that you don't have to have a compliance hearing to do it.
That helps me a lot, because I still can't get my arms around this conditions precedent and conditions subsequent. And even at the planning workshop, the online planning workshop, it didn't clarify it for me.
One more thing that helps, I think, with that is that the planning board has always considered final approval, although we don't have it written down anywhere, and we might want to do it. And I was talking to Adam about this, in that we've considered final approval when all the conditions of a plat are met. All the conditions the planning board put on it, whether they be precedent or subsequent, they're all met.
Okay.
And approval of when the board votes to approve a site plan, that is an approval, but it's not a final approval, because you can, it starts a 30-day clock for appeals. So you can appeal that decision before any of the conditions have been met. But when the conditions are met, that is a final approval. That's how we've always addressed that. So the decision has been made. So the final approval is obtained by only after all conditions have been met. That makes sense, because we put those conditions on there. Nothing else has to be done for the contract or the approval to be done. And the vote to approve or disapprove is only a final decision, not a final approval. It's for the purpose of the appealing decision under 677-15. You got 30 days to appeal that. You don't have to wait for these conditions to be approved or finalized before you appeal it. That still isn't making sense? There are two separate things. There's final approval, and you see it in the RSAs a lot. They talk about final approval, but they never define it. But approval and final approval are two different things. And it kind of makes sense if you think about it. Approval, okay, we've approved it, but you guys got conditions. It can still be appealed while those conditions are trying to be met. But final approval is when you've met all your conditions. That's final.
That's when the chairperson signs the plat?
If they've done the other things we have in here about signing the plat, you know, it's stamped by an engineer, a couple other things in there we read there.
Okay, what my notes, this is how I've been thinking, that the site plan will be approved when the following are accomplished, that all conditions relative to the approval are placed on the site plan. The planning board has received final unconditional approval from the fire department. The site plan has been signed by a registered engineer or surveyor, and the site plan has been signed by the chair of the planning board.
And we changed some wording in that to clarify that. Now, where the heck was that?
Would that be in our site plan
In
review
our new ones
regs?
here. It was in these. We've got a new section of that. Let's see. It talks about. It will be effective. That's what it was. We changed that to effective.
The site plan will become effective?
Yeah, when those things are done.
Okay.
Not final approval.
Okay.
Because it can still be finally approved, but not effective yet because they haven't gotten the fire department approval and those other things. But when the chairman signs those two copies we've said now, and we have that written down here someplace, right? But
Yeah,
we
the
changed
two
that word
copies.
to effective.
Where?
Wasn't administrative subsequent and handled by the,
You're talking about the conditions now?
yeah,
Yeah, the subsequent conditions are handled by the land use office usually,
yes.
because they can happen afterwards, and they aren't part of the, we'll say, contract, or something that has to be done before you get the approval, but the compliance hearing is for things that have to be put on the plat that are not administrative, and we cover that in those 1 through 3 items right on there.
And in our last discussion, didn't we pretty much decide that it was going to stay a 1-year period
No, we went
for
to,
conditions?
we went to 3, yeah, 1 year even the compliance hearing had to be done within 1 year, and that's in here someplace.
Yes, it is on B, I believe.
Okay, yeah, 1 year after that, and it was 1 year for the administrative ones as well. We had done that so that wouldn't be strung out for a long time. But we're just trying to get back to clarify approval and final approval. Again, because it talks about it in the RSAs a lot, and we talk about it a lot, and it's not really defined exactly what it is.
So are you proposing additional language that would fit in this section?
If we want to put a definition of what final approval is, we could. I'm just explaining to the board that that's how it's been addressed
Yeah,
for a while there, and it kind of makes sense that an approval is one thing, it starts a 30-day clock for appeals, but final approval is when you finally satisfied those conditions, all conditions.
satisfies all
Okay,
conditions.
The final approval will start the clock for substantial,
Nope, all the
Or-
clocks start right
we-
at the time the board takes a vote.
okay, that's
Clocks for
what
everything, even
I
that
wanted to
3-year one.
find.
Yeah, all those, they start there. It's just about the final approval part, and again, a final approval is obtained only after all conditions have been met. And that's what we know what it is, how we know what it is. And we could clarify in our site plan regulations what the vote, and I've just got it penciled in down here, and I've written down the vote to approve or disapprove is only a final decision for purposes of appealing the decision under 677-15. It starts the clock, 30-day clock. Conditions need not be met before a decision can be appealed. And that's true, we can do that, but it just clarifies for us. It's not for other people, these are for us to understand our own regulations and what we're actually doing and how we do it. And I'm not saying we need to add those in there, because if we do, we're gonna have to have another public hearing and all that, but I'm just saying, if we wanted to use that to clarifying language, we'll know what we're talking about, or when we're doing these site plans.
By consent, I would be happy to put that extra language in, even if it means another public hearing, because I find that area to be really confusing. To have something written down so that we have a very clear process, I think is helpful.
Yeah.
That's one
We can vote to
opinion.
do that. So are we still confused, or if we add that in there, yeah, we can finish the public hearing and we can add that in and have another public hearing if we want to put down what the definition, I think it's a good idea because we've never had it in our site plan regs. It's always been an unspoken rule that that's what a final approval means.
Yeah.
There is a section in the site plan review regs that goes over appeals, but it's not quite that language. So I don't see the problem with adding more language.
Okay, we could do that. Just working out the wording. How do you want it worked out? Or I'll read what I have, you read what you have, or...
I don't have any, I was just taking notes
Oh,
on what you were saying.
Okay, well, I'll read what I have here, just under the final approval, a final, and we could put it as new section E, right under that D right there. And it'd just read, a final approval is obtained only after all conditions have been met. And I don't know if we want to add this underneath it just to clarify, but it says the vote to approve or disapprove is only a final decision for purposes of appealing the decision under 677-15. And we could add, it starts a 30-day clock, but 677-15 says that anyways. But I just wrote down adds. It starts a 30-day clock for appeal. And just to clarify this, conditions need not be met before the decision can be appealed. And that is true, that's always been the case. It's after the board makes a decision. Start appealing if they want to.
So let me read what we already have for appeals. This might fit
Oh, yeah,
into that section.
yeah.
Whatever the board wants. So under section, section 14, administration and enforcement, it says appeals. Any person aggrieved by a decision of the planning board may appeal said decision to the Superior Court pursuant to RSA 677-15, except when a disapproval by the board is based on non-compliance with the Swanzey zoning ordinance, in which case it may be appealed to the Zoning Board of Adjustment. For appeals from housing or housing-related development decisions, any aggrieved party must file an appeal with the Housing Appeals Board pursuant to RSA 679-6 or with the Superior Court.
And that's the appeal process.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, Adam is saying, do we want to put this part about approve, disapprove in there?
I think what Adam read really is, it feels to me like that's directed to an applicant who is appealing, not to the planning board who is trying to deal with an appeal.
It's the procedures, I guess, yeah, it's a procedure to do it. We don't even have to put that in. It just clarifies it for us. It would clarify it for the applicant too, I suppose, if they read our site plan regs.
Yeah, I think if we're going to add this, it should be under 6 and then F, maybe G. So it would go cost of engineering, blah, 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 and then another line G. We could add this.
Yeah, that would be the sentence. Underneath that would be a new little section that would say the vote to approve or disapprove is only a final decision for purposes of appealing the decision under 6. Yeah. That would clarify, that they would know they can start appealing as soon as that decision is made and not having to wait for the conditions.
Yeah, we can do it.
With your definition of final with the conditions, should we put parentheses subsequent and precedent in there?
We can put those there, but we're not all lawyers.
I know they're implied.
Yeah,
by
none of us really know what that means. Well, we know what it means, but we weren't intended to be lawyers. But you could put it underneath there as long as we define it, because it can be confusing, as we'll find out further in A here that we need to change the precedent to subsequent, because under A, that's not correct.
Mm-hmm. Yep, under
So
A, I changed
it's very
that.
confusing for us to use that, but we can put it in there and define them, as you said.
I don't know. If you feel we need to,
Well,
we should.
they've kind of been defined here, because
above.
in the wording above, it says, let's see, must be applied to obtain a final approval application conditioned precedent, says that there, and I think it mentions, it mentions conditions that do not require a compliance hearing prior to approval, conditions subsequent. So that kind of defines it, what they are. But you're thinking a separate section that defines those two?
I don't know if we need it, just in your definition, to be inclusive, so they would understand, but
I think it's covered right there.
Yeah,
It gives and then in parentheses, it says conditions subsequent, meaning that you do not have to have a compliance hearing to satisfy those conditions. And then parentheses, it's conditions subsequent. They're legal terms usually used in contract law, but they are used. I don't know, I haven't ever found subsequent in the RSAs. I've found precedent in the RSAs, but that's under subdivision regulations. I haven't found it under site plan regulations.
Yeah, just for reference, I changed in 7A, that has been changed to subsequent. So it's now reading as provided in RSA 676-4 I, parentheses I, if an approval is subject to conditions subsequent, and then it reads the same.
Yeah, that says it.
What's the mood of the board?
Well, we can continue, I guess, down through the sections. I think we're done with that part of it there.
Have we come to consensus that we would like to add this additional language? Or should we
Think
defer
so.
that?
You can do a consensus, and then, yeah, we don't even have to have a motion on it, I suppose. Just a consensus of the board to
are you referencing 6, or
we
what are you
were-
referring to?
be a new little E underneath the D,
Adding-
right?
I think,
I'm going to put it under approval G, unless you think it makes more sense under conditional approval E.
Under approval what, Adam?
Do you think it should go into approval, or underneath approval, or underneath conditional?
Oh, yeah, approval, probably underneath approval would be a better spot for it.
So then I can
Yeah.
add it as a G under approval, if that works.
I think that'd be a better spot,
Okay.
yeah. Because, yeah, then it's talking about approval, yeah, and final approval is obtained only after all conditions have been met. Sure,
okay, so it feels like the board is in agreement, good move, do that,
yeah.
I'll have a clean copy at our next meeting.
okay. And that covers all the points that you were making, the final approval, what you had proposed as a new E, that would, a vote to approve or disapprove is only a final decision for the purpose of appealing under da-da-da.
Yeah, that would go right there, I think.
Okay, okay. And Adam has all that. And then, so under 7, conditional approval, item A, there's a change as provided in the law. If an approval is subject to conditions, it should say subsequent instead of precedent.
Yeah,
Okay,
subsequent after, precedent before.
Yeah.
Remember it that way.
yeah. Okay, so continue on. And this, let's see, condition subsequent, the approval will become final without further public hearing upon certification by the town planner or other authorized official or upon satisfactory evidence of completion submitted by the applicant, but only when such conditions are, and now we define what subsequent conditions are, minor plan changes, compliance with which, that's why I'm so confused. These are actually subsequent things. Okay. Minor plan changes, compliance with which is administrative in nature and does not involve discretionary judgment by the board. The second element is other conditions that are themselves administrative and involve no discretionary judgment on the part of the board. And finally, conditions with regard to the applicant's possession of permits and approvals granted by other boards or agencies. All right, and then letter B, that was we had discussed meeting conditional approval. The condition shall be met within 1 year after the date upon which the board voted to approve. And that's been okayed by council. And then C, talks about a public compliance hearing. will be required within 1 year after the date upon which the board voted to approve the conditions. And again, that 1 year was passed by town council and thought to be a good idea. After the date upon which the board voted to approve the conditions, otherwise the approval is null and void. All conditions shall be recorded on the site plan prior to the compliance hearing. And then a new section is D, the planning board may waive the requirement for action within the time period specified in subparagraph 7B and 7C above, and consent to such extension as may be mutually agreeable. Other thoughts?
Covers it, I think.
Okay. So it looks like we're going to have a second public hearing with those changes, and probably we can do that we don't need to get legal approval of those changes, do we?
I don't think so, as long as the board votes to continue the hearing to
Good thought.
it's going to be June 11th.
Okay. I would entertain that motion.
I'll make that motion to continue this public hearing until June 11th.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So we will continue the public hearing. It's not closed. Okay. So the next agenda item is our discussion of excavation permits. And do you think we should, Scott and I have talked about this, and we have some material, but I wonder if it would make sense to delay that until we have a full board.
Yeah, let's see, we're missing, a few people here.
We're missing
Yeah.
Mark
We
and
probably oughta.
Stacy and Jane,
Yeah.
yeah. So
I know Mark's doing Europe, by the way.
such a life. From my perspective, I'd like to have everybody on the same page, so just by way of explanation, I had the good fortune to go to a short session at the School of Self to talk about excavation, and wrote up some, just kind of wrote up the review process, and I thought it'd be really helpful for board members to walk through that so we can all understand exactly how we go about excavation review. But I think we all,
We can go over a few things. Something to think about is it would appear that the planning board actually has been going by 155E because it's, and I will get to the spot in the zoning.
do you want me to
It's in
distribute this? Because we've got it all written out.
Yeah, it's in,
I mean, we're sort of
sure, that'd be
jumping-
good, yeah.
Yeah,
It's in
let's-
reference, it's something to read about then, we don't need to discuss it all, but if you want a full board here, we can read it later. But some of those points are good to note that by reference, we've referenced 155E in our zoning when we allow the excavation, and by reference, that means that's part of our zoning. So we don't have to adopt another 155E, it's already there, because we've referred it in I think 2 or 3 places in the zoning. And looking it over, it was pretty much intended for the state to separate the excavation of minerals and like cut stone and cut products like that, and reserve the rights to regulate that for themselves. And they gave the rights to the towns to regulate the sand and gravel and those types of things.
The gold.
And no, yeah, maybe not that. And they did it so that it would make it more affordable and easier and probably faster for these towns to build roads and get gravel for the road building and those types of municipal projects without the state and the town clashing with one another trying to regulate the same thing. So they split it up. They gave the towns the right to regulate the sand and gravel. They reserved the right themselves to regulate the excavation of minerals and cut stones and things like that. So that's where that 155E came from. And then they put those minimum minimum regulations that we've been following.
So that, I found that explanation to be really, I don't know, enlightening. For some reason, suddenly made excavation review seem interesting to me. So just to, a little bit more detail on what Scott just said, where you find this is, if you look at item 1, in our regular zoning, we allow the removal and processing of earth material as a permitted use after you get a special exception in 3 districts, okay? And the ordinance says removal and processing of earth material, basically, is subject to the minimum standards established pursuant to RSA 155E. And effectively, what that does is it makes 155E part of our zoning. And the zoning was amended to include that statement, subject to the minimum standards of 155E. That was in March 2000, when we approved the removal and processing of earth material by special exception in those 3 districts. So we have an excavation ordinance that has been officially adopted into our zoning ordinance by reference. So that those 155E standards are a duly adopted element of our zoning ordinance. So,
That being said, and if they're separated, and the town has basically jurisdiction over sand, gravel, et cetera, are we not then, or could we not then put in remedies?
You mean make it more restrictive, right?
Well, make it restrictive.
Can't make it
but-
less restrictive
No, well,
than the RSA's. These are minimum standards the state sets up on all these things, including this. So we can make them more restrictive to a certain point, but not less. I think,
and we would have to go through a normal zoning update process, you know, so it would be, it's not something we can do like a site plan review regulation just with a public hearing.
I'm going to mull that over a bit, I think, because if you're saying that the state has jurisdiction basically to dictate the conditions for removal of earth minerals, but the town has responsibility to control the sand, gravel, clay, et cetera.
and think in terms of zoning. That's what this is all about. In terms of towns allowing these gravel pits in certain places. It's all about zoning. It's not about what they're taking out or that type of
No,
thing.
no,
Yeah, but
I
I'm just
agree,
saying,
but I mean,
keep in terms of
it's zoning.
Yeah.
But like the individual that was here, Mr. Johnson, is it, that was here? If our town is responsible for zoning and putting together what can and cannot be done, as we did with the Conservation Commission, can we not put in some sort of remedies where people are struggling?
Oh, yeah.
I'd kind of like to
Get to that.
defer that because, until the whole board is here, because what I'd like to do at a future meeting is walk through basically what our checklist is for, it's page 2 and 3 of the thing you just got. So the checklist for excavation permit review, and also there are some exceptions that the law, which are also duly adopted into our zoning. So, you know, I feel like we should all be here for that, just so that we
No,
know.
I'm just,
And furthermore, I want to keep it really general, you know, as we do, because we don't want to be talking about something where a person has an interest, an applicant has an interest.
If you guys don't mind, I'd still like to go through the email that I sent out on the
Well,
day I sent
let's-
out the packet. I do have some information I need to cover today.
Okay, and we'll get to that. I just want to make sure that, is that as far as you'd like to go with this?
I think that's good, yeah.
Okay.
We have this to read there, and what you were talking about, Richard, just take a look at the last page and relief or exemptions, those types of things.
Yeah, if we go through it as a board, it'll keep questions down, because once we go work through it, if we went through it now,
Yeah.
you got people in here going to ask a million
I know,
questions.
yeah, yeah.
Yep.
So it all makes
Yeah,
sense.
that'd be my
sounds
preference.
good.
Because it's, because we don't do it often, I think we need a refresher course. All right. And let's see. So Adam, you had clarifications.
Yes. So I sent out an email with the packet, and in that email had a little message. I had a meeting with Lori and Christine, kind of clarifying what Christine's role was in this process. I mainly just wanted to clarify her role. I mentioned her name several times in our last meeting. I want to clarify her role as the assessing coordinator does not involve any oversight or decision-making capabilities of the excavation projects. My previous comments kind of conflated her role with past planners who originally brought the ideas to light. This is really a collaborative effort between the town and the state. The planning department serves as the primary contact, and obviously, as we just learned, and as I have found in my research, the planning board serves as the regulator. So there's another message that we kind of came to an agreement on. I still propose the 12-month timeline to achieve compliance, and I know we're not going to talk about this tonight, but an alternative the board could discuss is 18 to 24-month timeline. That would move the compliance target to either October 1st, 2027 or April 1st, 2028. We've already mentioned this, but the Board of Selectmen was mentioned a couple times at our last meeting. They do not have any involvement with this process. The Planning Board is the regulating authority. They voted to be the regulating authority on June 6, 1991. Funny enough, there is actually an old excavation application that the town has not used in a couple decades now. I was trying to find evidence of it being used with Matt or Sarah or Julius, and it just hasn't been used since the 90s. I have copies of that I'm going to provide when the entire board is present, so when we want to talk about it, we can talk about it. So I have printouts of the old application and of the adoption of RSA 155E minutes and whatnot. So that's all I really wanted to talk about today. I know you guys don't want to vote on compliance timeline yet, so we'll table that. That's all I got.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Any other business? Are we done? Move on to other business? Other business? I would like to just remind people that the next time we're together, we're going to be here with Sarah Bollinger from Southwest RPC, and she has specifically asked that we, in that packet that we've received from her, pay a special attention to what's on page 5, which is the preliminary reorganization framework, okay? That's where she talks about shuffling things around in the ordinance, trying to make more sense. And that goes on for a couple of pages. And she also would like us to really pay attention to the questions for the joint meeting discussion, okay? And those are 8 questions. Just, think through them. And the other thing is, if the planning board is the host entity for this meeting, so if people ask you, what's the meeting all about or whatever, and I was thinking of you, Charlie, because I don't know if people ever, tug on your sleeve when you're at work and say, what's going on with this? I've had some questions about what this meeting is all about. So if you can just really encourage people to attend, because we don't get this opportunity often, to look at a 79-year-old zoning ordinance. And it's what I hope is that many people will come, and people will come who we don't want everybody to have answers. We want people to come and have questions, and that will help all of us think about the project and what we want the zoning to do for us. And it's also a chance for us to clarify, maybe, maybe there's been some confusion about how the zoning works or whatever. So it's a really good opportunity.
Can I clarify something? I'm sorry. This is a public meeting, not a public hearing. There is no right to speak.
I'm not implying that. I'm talking about the members,
Okay.
the invited people.
Yes.
Yeah. The groups that have been invited,
Yes.
individuals of those groups have approached me and said,
Okay,
I'm not really sure what's going on with this. And
I
I just
thought
want
you-
us all to say, please come, please come.
Yeah, please come. I mean, obviously, everybody is invited to come to the meeting, but only members of the boards invited to the meeting are permitted to speak at the meeting.
Sure.
So there can be audience members, but they won't be allowed to make any comments at this first meeting.
But the planning board is going to host that meeting, right? Because it's going to be a planning board, we're all going to be here, so it's going to have attendance taken by the chairman, and chairmans of the other boards going to have to take their attendance too, because there'll be a quorum in those boards as well.
I do have a quorum for all boards.
You will have a quorum, yeah.
Yeah,
But they should take attendance there, just like we do with any other joint meeting. The planning board usually hosts it. Planning board takes attendance, and then the other board takes attendance to make sure that everybody's there for minutes. And somebody's going to be taking minutes, correct?
Yeah, so
Regular
this is
meeting.
listed as a joint meeting between
Yep.
planning board, zoning board, conservation commission, EDAC, and Board of Selectmen. That was one that was
What is E EDAC?
Economic Development Advisory Committee. Sorry, I don't like writing it all out.
I'm struggling with some of the
Yep.
acronyms.
But what I'm getting at is that it's still a planning board meeting, so it's still run by the chairman of the planning board.
It's not being posted as a planning board meeting, it's being posted as a joint meeting.
It is, but any joint meeting, from my understanding, is usually run by the planning board. If it involves the planning board, they usually take precedence over the meeting. Somebody has to run the meeting, so it's usually the planning board that does that. It's
Yeah,
not the other groups.
Sarah is going to be running the meeting, to my knowledge.
I don't know, I think the planning board, the planning board should run the meeting, take the roll call,
Yeah.
the other boards take the roll call, and then the chairman
That's
can
my
turn it over
understanding.
to Sarah and run the meeting, right? But it's an official meeting by the town, and it kind of has to be treated that way. It's got
Yep.
minutes and everything else.
Oh, no, there will,
attendance,
yeah, for sure be minutes.
and then you hand it over to
there-
Sarah.
Yes, there is a strict 2-hour time limit too.
Yep. But I would say that, if someone came to the meeting, a member of the public, they had something to say, I would say it'd be up to the chairman of the planning board to allow them, they don't have to speak for half an hour, but
Sarah and I
we want
both-
to encourage people to come to these meetings and speak with us.
Sa-
Sarah has a limited length of time.
Sarah and I are both in agreement that this is a public meeting. At public meetings, there is no right to speak. They are welcome to come and see the process. At this
Yeah.
this is the first initial meeting. We just want it to be a workshop with all of the boards invited. If we get into public comment, it's going to run past the 2-hour mark, and we can't let it run past the 2-hour mark. We are on a strict clock of 2 hours, so,
You mean Sarah's time, right?
yes.
So if she wanted to leave, public stayed here, we could answer questions from the public. I mean, if the public wants to attend our meetings, but there's nobody here, but we're trying to get people here
Yeah.
that are interested in the boards if they want. And I understand Sarah only has 2 hours, and we ought to give her the 2 hours and not be interrupted. But I would say that it's the chairman's prerogative to allow the public to speak, even though they don't have to. She doesn't have to allow them to speak, but
If people are interested enough to show up here, if they have a question, I'd like to facilitate that.
Yeah, it would be a nice problem to have, wouldn't it?
yeah, it would be, yeah, probably, it's
Yeah.
probably gonna be like that, but, it'd be nice if someone did have a question. But it sounds like it's a
This was
good meeting.
Initially designed as a non-public meeting,
It has to be public. It's legally required to be
Okay.
public.
but was that not stated initially, non-public?
No, this is public.
Shouldn't have been.
Public meeting.
We're only allowed to do a non-public when it's a legal matter.
Very specific stuff, yeah.
Right, the
for us.
Board of Selectmen has the same criteria. It's got to be something legal, personal, something like that. They can't just close the meeting.
Sure.
Well, it should be a good meeting. We're off to a good start there. If we can just, take a look at the zoning ordinance and get the rhythm down there.
I think all the boards will fill up all the seats.
Yeah, they might, well, that's,
My best count is about 25 people, maybe
better
more.
invite Jimmy, he'll
but
bring
that'd be
pizza.
Great.
Wow.
Yeah,
I'll tell him.
He will if he's encouraged.
He will, he eats it.
all right. We good?
yeah, looking forward to that next meeting.
Yeah, me too.
So that's June 11th.
No,
No,
it's June 4th. It's next
First,
Thursday.
June 4th.
First thing for
Okay.
the select board,
Be
buy
there,
some
be
decent
square.
chairs.
They're all gonna be like that. I mean, they're gonna buy more chairs, but they're gonna be like that.
Yeah, I know they are. Because they haul in these big easy chairs for other people.
Do we have any other items? In which case,
Where are you on your,
An update on our, yeah, that's a big deal for the town. Yeah, we aren't too much further along than the last update. This is from the Water and Sewer Committee that we have, and we'll be meeting again on the 11th. And by the 11th, we hope to have probably a contract with the engineers, probably going to be Underwood engineers. The committee decided that Underwood should stick with Underwood because they've been with us throughout this whole process and they know the whole deal, and they're also not negotiating. They're also helping the town with other grants, and which is what we're going to need for this project. Not necessarily, but anyway, we're going to contract with them to do some more specific engineering on piping, pressure piping, wastewater from the West Swanzey treatment plant all the ways up to Keene, like we've talked about, up to Route 10 there, and tying into Market Basket. We had a meeting with the City of Keene. It was the Department of Public Works Director and the Assistant Director, and also the one that runs the treatment plant. And they were kind of reluctant to say when that project at Winchester Street is going to start and end. They aren't quite sure about it. We're thinking like 2030 they were, but maybe not, maybe after that. So they did say that, you know, we're putting around 60,000 gallons to 65,000 gallons a day out of that plant down there, and they said that their pipe, they're pretty certain that their pipe could take that for a length of time. So even if their project wasn't going to start up there, we could still start with our project, seems if we got financing, and continue it up there and put it into their pipe, and then when they do the project, we would pay for a larger pipe in that project whenever that occurred. So it would still be on because of that they said they could do that. And they said an intermunicipal agreement, probably a new one, would be done between the two towns, and that their city council, I guess, are going to be aware of it, and we're going to be talking to those guys prior to anything being started here to find out what that's going to be like. So it'll be engineering and discussions with the City of Keene, and the engineering should put some kind of a final cost on it, we'll say by maybe midsummer or fall, so we could look for what kind of financing that we could be looking for. And we're looking at, preliminary, we're looking at $20 million. So, I mean, that's a big one. That's with a couple of pump stations there, but again, that's a big ballpark figure.
But that's without grants being considered yet.
Well, that's without grants, yeah. Town can't do it, I don't think, without
Oh, you
any
can't
grants.
do that, no.
But we're hoping to bring that down a bit with more specific engineering and to see what they've got in mind, and maybe I have a few thoughts on where we could run the pipe, might save us some money and things like that. So we're hoping to get some figures done.
what happens to the old? Do we decommission the old?
Eventually it'll decommission, but that plant has to run until the day the first gallon is pumped through that pipe. It's got to be, and we, you know, theoretically we have to be making permit the whole time, you know, not violating our permit, which is going to be difficult. We're probably violating now with phosphorus. I don't know about copper and aluminum, but phosphorus most likely we're violating, but they're giving us a little bit of a pass there for a while because they know we're doing something there and they know we're possibly thinking about sending it to Keene. But you never can tell with the EPA. The DES might be able to hold off for a while, but if the EPA decides that they've had enough, then they may force us to do something down there in midterm before we're done. So we're looking at maybe starting 3 years from now with that project. So it's going to be a lot of financing. That's a big deal there. So we're not sure about that.
So not breaking ground in 3, starting to arrange financing.
Probably not. Well, arrange financing before, because we'll have to see what we can get for financing. If we can get something nailed down there with the revolving loan fund, which some of that is forgiven, and other funds. There was a Northern Borders, and there was a community development block grants we're looking at, and whatever else we can come up with. But we won't know what a bond would be. Steve Biddle is on our committee. He's thinking it might be around $5 million for our part of it there. But that's nothing that's just a ballpark figure in his mind.
I'm sure this fall we'll be talking about it.
But yeah, whatever it's going to be a bond for the town, and the town is going to have to vote to proceed with a bond like that. And so the governance committee is going to help us out with explaining it to the public. We'll, they'll set up a meeting and we'll be informing the public as to what it looks like and who's actually going to pay for it, because it's only going to be the sewer users going to pay for that bond. It's not going to be the whole entire town. So that's where we're at.
Wow.
And we'll continue to move forward on that. Like I say, we're meeting the 11th is the next meeting.
The new finance person they're hoping to hire, they're hoping that person will also be part-time grant writing as well. So if we need help with that, that's something we could look for from her.
Yeah,
Or
we can
in-
probably use that, yep. And we also have to probably look, we haven't really discussed it in the committee, but we're probably going to have to look at a plan B in case we can't do this.
Well,
In case
plus,
the bond doesn't pass.
And in case that
first.
doesn't fly, or in case there's something the engineering comes up with that we can't really do it for whatever the heck reason is, we'll have to be ready with a plan B, because the engineer's plan B was to build a new plant. That's 26 million.
we know sometimes how the voters in the town are not gonna take a bite like that.
Yeah, I know it, so there's a lot up in the air there.
Because
But
most
meanwhile-
people in town are not gonna be, they're gonna conflict the fact that even though they don't have to pay for anything, they think that it is gonna come out of their property taxes.
And that
And
could,
that's where my governance committee is gonna come in to try to explain that.
Yeah.
That, no, it's not, you know,
right, that could
she
sink
and
it.
I,
Yeah.
we're not gonna be paying that fee because we're not using that particular product, so.
It seems like the Plan B has to be cheaper than the Plan A. I think that's what
Totally
people
different.
say.
Nice, but it's not really, our plant is designed to remove what's called BOD, that's biological chemical demand, which is like food in the water that the bugs eat. And it's also designed to eliminate or reduce TSS, which is total suspended solids, which is fine particles in the effluent. And it takes those out. The plant works that way. It takes those out, and of course it disinfects before it goes into the river. We weren't designed to take out phosphorus, and we were not designed to remove metals either, which is what the EPA is bringing down the line. They've given us a pretty low number on metals there, and that's part of the problem here. The operators at the plant are working hard to try to at least alleviate the phosphorus one. The state may give us a pass for a while on the copper and the metals, but on the phosphorus, they probably are not going to do that. They're probably going to make us get that down, but luckily that's seasonal. At the end of October, we don't have to have a number for phosphorus anymore. It goes through all winter and comes up in October again. So we got a little bit of leeway there. But as I've stated before, with that plant down there, it's a lagoon system. So you've got probably around 50 or 60 days before it goes from one end to finally out the other end into the river. So if you do something on this end, you're waiting now a length of time to see if it worked, and if it doesn't, you're doing something again, and you're waiting another 50 or 60 days. It's a very, very time, you can't, we treated phosphorus before down there at the end of the plant. They're treating it at the beginning right now, but we treated it at the end part of it there, so you did have more control. We had control, a daily control of it there, and they may end up doing something like that just to meet permit. That's getting a little bit too much into it.
Just out of curiosity, about how many people does that wastewater treatment facility service?
We've got about 300 hookups on that plant. down
Only
there.
300?
Yeah, that's it. Yep, and the people, I don't know how many people, but we're talking about service connections.
Right, so households.
Yep.
Could be
Yep,
one,
and-
could be five.
Yeah, and there are a few businesses. It's not for commercial waste in there, but it's for domestic waste through businesses as well. But yeah, that's about what's in there.
Now, where do you stand on the water project?
We haven't even,
Before we leave, I just have one more question about solid waste. Back in the day, systems like ours, I think, used to put some of the effluent through reed beds to people. Is that ever, is it like a,
they have done that. It's just that doesn't work well in the wintertime. In the south, they do
right.
use that in the south
Okay.
a lot, and they use the lagoons a lot in the
Yeah.
south to do that. And they seldom have to clean them either, because all year long it's digesting.
Yeah.
They really don't build up much sludge there. We do here, and your point
they were
about
doing
our
it in
plant.
Putney for a while.
They may have tried that, but
Maybe
again,
they
it
just
doesn't
tried
work well in the wintertime.
Yeah, okay.
But we will, if we do the pipe here, we will decommission that plant up there. Once we start pumping there, the lagoons will have to be drained and the sludge removed and either filled in or whatever they're going to do down there. But it doesn't have to happen right off. We don't have to have the money to do that. They can sit there. It's not hurting anything. They're lined lagoons.
Water?
I was just, yeah,
Oh,
if you had
water.
any on the water, because
No,
that's
that's-
important for development too.
It is, that's part of us, the water part of it, but we haven't gotten anywhere into that yet. Maybe later on in the year, once we get engineering going in this sewer part of it there,
Yeah.
then they'll be going on with that for a while. Maybe we'll break off in a subcommittee about the water and just have the superintendent of the water company just come in.
That's another thing the governance committee can help you with on that education, because that's why it failed last time. People didn't understand what was
Yeah.
going on there.
Yeah,
And the water is the most important thing in my mind as far as Route 10 development goes.
it is for commercial, right? Is that what
Right,
you're talking
right,
about?
yeah,
Because of
commercial.
fire suppression.
Yeah, because most of those places though, business, they just need a septic system big enough for their employees, and that's about it.
Yeah, they do.
I hope you're ready when we have those meetings to do a lot of technical explanation for people.
We're
'Cause
gonna,
I can't
we're gonna
do
have to
that.
be, yeah, you're on the governance committee still,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So you weren't there. I approached the governance committee a
Yes,
couple
I
of
was
weeks.
there.
You were there that time?
Yeah, I'm sitting right here.
Somebody wasn't there.
Yeah.
Oh, you were the guy heckling me, weren't you? Yeah. So, yeah,
Yeah.
we'll definitely, the committee or some of the committee members will be on board with you guys. You guys hold the meeting and we'll supply the information.
Yeah, because I definitely wouldn't get into that technical stuff. It's way beyond what I know.
Well, it's beyond what I know too sometimes. The rest I just make up, right?
Sounds good though.
You shouldn't admit it.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second? All in favor?
Scott, when did you